The views, opinions, and statements expressed in this program are those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Anything Entertainment Network.
You know already what the hottest podcast is in the world, the Brik Talks podcast. And so we're on Anything Entertainment Network. Make sure you download that and share it with all your friends and come out and check out some of the conversations that we're having. We got some really riveting conversations. We're talking about community. We're talking about culture. We're talking about loving and helping one another to just build a great community and to build great surroundings in our community. Make sure you look for us on YouTube. We're on social media. Keep building, y'all. Keep it Brik. Hello, welcome to the Brik Talks podcast. I am your host, the Brik Chik, and today I am going to be talking with Candyce Cathey of Project Urge. She brings healing into hard spaces, hope into overlooked places, and light into systems that were never meant to build up people like us. So through her work with Project Urge, she stands in the gap for families facing housing insecurities, for vulnerable youth finding their way, and for souls who just need someone to say, I see you. She leads with faith and compassion and with courage. Everything she does is rooted in dignity, restoration, and justice. So if you've ever wondered what it looks like to turn pain into purpose, struggle into strength, and faith into action, you're about to find out. So your family helped me welcome a healer, a builder, a bridge maker, a woman of God and community. And this is Miss Candyce Cathey. Hi, Candyce. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Is there any words that you would like to say before we get started? An introduction of yourself? Anything I missed?
I think you did a really good job summing it up. So I'm okay. You did great.
Okay. All righty. So tell us a little bit about Project Urge. What is that?
Project Urge is a faith-based organization. And so it was started way back in 2002. It was started by a gentleman named Gary Manuel. And his thought process was, how can we get the suburban churches to build a bridge to the urban churches so that the urban communities can have access to the same tools, resources, and skills, everything that suburban churches have access to. They realized that there was a racial divide between churches. And he also realized that the Anglican church had a large role in racism, especially in urban churches and communities. And they were trying to heal that. So he formed Project Urge and he ran it all the way up until 2024. And then they were going to close. And I was like, no, don't close. Don't get rid of this perfectly good 501c3 with all these wonderful things that we can do. Let me take it. Let me see how I can move this needle a little further than where they were. They were kind of stuck and they were just like, nah, we don't have it in us anymore. Where everybody was older and they were just going to let it go. And I was like, nope, there's a need. There's still a need. We can do this. There's still urban communities. There's marginalized communities. There's underrepresented communities. And there's still good that we can do. So let's do it. And he was like, all right, well, you take it and see what you can do.
Oh, so you took the reins.
So I took the reins. And so here I am.
Well, that's good. Now, almost 2 years later, how do you feel about it? Are you glad that you did it?
I am glad that I did it. It is hard work, though.
It is.
It is a very, very hard work.
Tell us about one of your days.
So one of my every day is different, but let's just say last Thursday, I dealt with most of just our kids in our youth program. And I had a teenage girl, she was 19, and I took her to go look at an apartment because she was homeless. And we had put her on the prioritization list to help her find housing. And she had already been abused, and she was dating a gentleman that is 53. She's 19. And her mind is stuck at the age of 10 when all of her trauma happened. So talking to her, helping her, trying to help her understand adult things when she really is still 10 takes a lot of energy.
Oh, okay.
A lot of energy. So there's her. There's another young woman who is 21 and her trauma happened when she was around 10. So she's stuck. And every other day she wants to give up on her children and give up on life. And it's too hard. And just reassuring young people that you can make it. Tomorrow is not promised, but today you are here. There's so much to live for. You have babies. So
besides helping them with finding home, somewhere to live, clearly that's the most important. But do you all also have resources to help them, like to get job training and schooling, things like that?
We get them connected with trades if they want to take up a trade. We do court advocacy. So we go to court for most of these young people who are been involved in the justice system. If they are having a moment of crisis, they call and we come. We do mobile case management. So we take the services to them instead of them having to come to us.
Okay.
Whatever they need is what we do. So it doesn't start or end with housing. It starts usually with them just coming because they need help and they don't know what they need. A lot of them are displaced from their families. Their families don't want them, can't have them, or they just don't get along with their families. And they don't have anywhere else to turn.
That's not very well. That's a good thing that you have this program available to them.
Yes.
Wow. So your work is really rooted in making people truly feel seen. You know what I'm saying? And knowing that they're just not lost in the system and nobody cares, right? So, was there a moment in your life when you felt unseen, and did that help shape the way that you for this to be your calling today?
I think those are two very different answers. So yes, there's a moment in time, I think for a very large part of my teenage and adulthood, I felt unseen. Mostly because it was me. It's just, I don't know why I felt unseen. I can tell you that as an adult, I felt unseen in the work world. So I worked in corporate for a good 20 years. And this organization is where I met the most of the best people, but it is also where I learned how racism played such a huge part in Black people's lives. Okay. It was real hard to get ahead. It was very difficult to be in management and have other management see you as an equal. Because if you flipped your hair the wrong way and you were Black, that meant that you were being aggressive. Or if you were passionate, I speak with my hands a lot, so I've had to learn to do this so that I won't talk with my hands because it was unprofessional. Or you get labeled the angry Black woman because you are passionate about whatever you're passionate about. Any number of things. That's where I learned where racism lived and how it played a big role in my life and what shaped me as a person. And then my calling came in 2012 and I was still working for that organization. And one day I had a dream, and in this dream, I walked into a house and there were children of all ages, like little, all the way up to young adults, standing around an island in the middle of the kitchen. And it was storming inside the house, like literal rain, thunder, and lightning in the house. And I looked up and I was like, what? Why are all of you here? Like, where are the adults in your lives? It is storming and there is no covering for you here. Why are you here? There was no roof. It was just storming. And when I woke up, I knew that the Lord was like, you have to provide a covering for these kids.
Okay. So that did shape how you got into this. So what steps did you take? Did you know about the Project Urge, no. Or did you have to start researching, or what did you do?
From there, I actually started my own nonprofit called House of David. I was studying about David in the Bible at that time, and I was like, okay, Lord, what can I call this? And David was one of the mightiest kings in the Bible, so House of David it was. That was the name. And my mom and I started researching what can we do. It was originally supposed to be a residential center for youth. And so we started looking into how to do a residential center. And I said, okay, well, I haven't worked with kids. So what we going to do, Jesus? So just so happened that my call center that I worked at closed for good. And I was like, oh, I have a lot of free time. But that was not until 2017. Closed in 2017. And then I went to work at the Ville of Hope, where I dealt with nothing but kids. And so I learned what it was like to have a residential center and have kids there and what to do and what not to do. And
so did you seek that out, or is that just kind of?
That's what hired me. And I was grateful for that opportunity because I got my feet wet.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to another organization, had nothing to do with kids, but it had everything to do with project management, which is also what I needed. And then I left there, and I didn't learn about Project Urge until 2019.
Okay.
And my associate pastor, who happened to be the chair of Project Urge, he invited me to do something called Diversity Cafe. That's one of our programs. And Diversity Cafe is a platform where they talk about racism. And they invite the community to come and share their ideas, and just talk about topics that are heavy on people's heart. And at that time, George Floyd happened. There's so many. Tamir Rice was happening. Trayvon Martin happened. Like, so many different things happened in a very short span of time. And so we were talking about all those topics. And then the mass shooting happened in Buffalo, and Diversity Cafe, just every month, first Saturday of every month, we did a different topic about racism. And then I started working at the YWCA, and I became their diversity, equity, and inclusion ambassador. And so that built up my justice portion of myself. And so that, together with the kids and with the lack of resources, I said, okay, this can be all of what Project Urge is about. Okay. It can't be one or the other. It has to be all inclusive. So here we are.
Okay. Yeah. Because you're kind of at the intersection with faith and justice and community, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you personally balance spiritual grounding with the practical demands of systems at work?
Well, I don't know that I have a balance. My husband says that I bring my work home, which I do, because I often times have to house a lot of the unhoused youth. So I bring that home. But I stay in prayer a lot. I have to pray very often throughout my day, very often. Just because you see injustice differently when you work in the middle of it and in those systems. So I have to pray a lot because I'm angry a lot about the injustice and about how people are treated and the lack of resources that we have in the inner city compared to what's available in the suburbs, or even driving in the suburbs. And I'm like, it's amazing that there are no liquor stores in any residential neighborhoods in the suburbs, but there's 3 on every corner in the inner city. Right. So it's those things that I notice that other people don't necessarily pay attention to or don't understand that angers me, that drives me to want to do more, but still have to make sure that I'm doing it as the hands and feet of Jesus and not as myself. So
suburbanites do a whole lot of drinking. Maybe because they have a car and they can go to the bigger liquor store. They drink. They do. Drinking out there.
They drink.
Yes. Okay, but I understand what you're saying.
They just don't put them where people live.
Yeah, because they get cases. Okay. All right. So you often walk alongside people navigating these systems, right?
Yes.
And that weren't designed for them, clearly, as you can, as you kind of exemplify here. What's one story that changed the way you see dignity and restoration?
So I think if I'm thinking about all of my experiences that I've had, I believe that working at one of the shelters in the city of Rochester is what changed my perspective on dignity and restoration. There was a young lady, she was an older lady, but she came to the shelter, and one of the workers at the shelter This lady was crying. She was in absolute tears, like all day. And one worker went up to her and said, "What's wrong? You've been crying so much. What is wrong?" And the lady said, "I'm just really, I'm really down because my son committed suicide and it's the anniversary of his death." Oh. And she was inconsolable. And another worker came right behind her and said, "Well, how long ago did this happen?" And she said, "It's been like 20 years. And she said, "Well, it was 20 years ago. You need to get this paperwork done." And the lady was just like, "What? So there's a time limit on when I can grieve?" And she really felt dejected. And one of the workers came and brought that story to me. And I asked what the name of the client was, and she told me. And I said, "Okay." And I had to sit down with the person who just kind of pushed her off to the side. And she was like, "Well, I don't understand why this has anything to do with you. You don't work in this department." And I said, "No, but I'm the diversity and equity person." And I said, "Before I even talk about what I do, I need you to understand that you don't even know who you're interacting with." And she was like, "Well, what do you mean? It's just another client. Like, this lady's on drugs and she just, it's another client." I said, "Well, she is another client, but that's also my aunt. That's my aunt. And you wouldn't know that, but anybody that walks through these doors deserves respect. Mm-hmm. They deserve to have their dignity not impugned by someone who could care less." Mm-hmm. And I have an issue with that. It could have been anybody. It doesn't have to be my aunt, but it could have been anybody. Yeah. You don't treat people like that. Mm-hmm. And there's got to be a different way. Like, there has to be a better way to treat anybody. You don't know what anybody's been through. That's true. You don't know anybody's trauma, and everybody in here has some form of trauma. Mm-hmm. And she just kind of looked at me because she didn't know what else to say. And I think she had said enough at that point. She did say enough. That was time for her to be quiet. It was. Mm-hmm. But I think just having that conversation, like, it took a deeper conversation, and that was surface level. Mm-hmm. And I really had to say a few words to her. Mm-hmm. Like, try Jesus, not me. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't, and don't talk to any other client like this, because this is not okay. And it was something that I felt very strongly about it. So I had to take it to someone that was higher than me. And from that, we ended up having to do trauma-informed care with all of the staff. Mm-hmm. And I took the training to become a trainer, because I said, there's no way that we can treat people like this. But if one person is doing it, that means other people are doing it. Other people see homeless people, or see people with mental health, or see people who have been through something. They see them in a way that's not fair. Mm-hmm. And they treat them in a way that's not fair. And we can't, this is not okay. That's true. So, well, that's good. I'm glad that you were able to shed some light on that, because I think it happens more than you know. Mm-hmm. And people, they, I don't know, they just don't seem to have empathy for people. You don't have to have walked in somebody's shoes, or just because empathy. Something, it's been 20 years ago. And in some ways, I get what she was saying, but that wasn't her place to really, right. You know what I'm saying? That's when you have to kind of like leave that to some experts and talk to her about normal, but you do that from a place of love, not right. Fill out this form because you ain't got time to grieve from 20 years ago. Right. So that was cruel. So, but some people, I don't know if they have a soul, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't care about nothing and nobody. That's true. Mm-hmm. So if there's people that want to start doing something like this, mm-hmm. right, where do they start? What's one simple way that everyday people can support housing instability? I think the easiest way is to become a mentor. People are unstable. A lot of people are unstable in their housing because they've never had an apartment before, or no one has ever taught them what it means to be a tenant or what it means to be responsible. So if you just simply have someone that can coach you through it, like, hey, did you put enough money up for your rent this month? What about next month? When you going to start saving for that? You have to be on top of that. If you just have somebody that can talk to you a couple times a week, or even just once a month, but talk to you so that they can remind you, they can encourage you, and they can say, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. This is going to lead to a different consequence down the line. You don't want to be unstable. You don't want to put your housing in jeopardy. Funds aren't guaranteed, as people are feeling now. These grant funds, these pockets of money, all this help that was there during COVID, that stuff is not guaranteed. And it has been pulled and given back and pulled 7 different times.
I believe it, because if you don't use it, you lose it.
If you don't use it, you lose it. And our president is not allowing us to use a lot of it. So it's been pulled. So just even having someone just to give that gentle reminder, hey, don't do that with your money this month. You can go out, but put your money aside. The stuff that's important, put it aside.
So I noticed that you mentioned like they don't even know how to be a tenant. What about so home ownership is just out the window, huh?
They don't know how to do that either, but it's not out the window. There's so many resources out here. I know Legacy Makers. It's another lady. She's African American, and she started this program called Legacy Makers. And her goal was to take underprivileged people who were incarcerated or just being released from incarceration, to help them get on the road to home ownership. And she has had great success with that. She does a form of it for young people during the summer, but this is a year-round program so that she can help people get financially in place and understand finances from their lens, not from a high level that some of the credit bureaus want you to understand it. She breaks it down to an understandable, digestible level for them.
Well, that's good. And I guess if people have those types of skill sets and things like that, then how they just reach out to Project Urge and you can get them like volunteer accredited or what have you.
Absolutely. They can always, we are always looking for volunteers.
Okay. Is it all volunteer? Well, clearly I know that you probably work, you sounds like you're the CEO around there.
I am.
Okay. All right.
I am.
Okay.
But we are just getting, it's been volunteer led for over 20 years.
Okay.
And, I love volunteering, but not 100% volunteering. So we are stepping into contracts and grants and stuff of that nature. Yes.
Okay. All right. So what about with the vulnerable teens? Like if they've already probably gone through some trauma. I'm not gonna say everybody, but everybody has a different form of trauma, right? And so how does that work as far as them building trust and developing trust in the people that are going to assist them with these things? Does that play a role in?
It does. So not everybody that has come into contact with these kids mesh well with the kids. So I do a lot of helping the kids to understand what their interests are or their triggers, so that I know who would trigger that child if I put them with them. So we try to make sure that the mentors are aligned and their personalities fit, because some kids are more aggressive, and I can't have somebody that's super timid with somebody has an aggressive personality. And aggressive, not meaning that they want to fight, but just they might talk over you, they might cuss you out. Somebody that's timid they don't handle being cussed out real well. So we try to match energies is what we do. But the kids, once they get to know the mentors, they gravitate themselves towards who they're going to be.
They prefer.
Yeah. And that's okay. And we haven't had any issues. We've definitely had conversations with kids because we have a generation of disrespectful.
Not all of the children.
Not all
but I
of
understand
them.
where you're coming from.
But we do. I mean, we have Kia boys in our program.
Okay.
We got Kia girls in our program. We have the ones that are they are in gangs. A lot of them have mental health issues. A lot of them have been involved in the CPS system for as long as they've been alive. Like, we have kids. So everybody's not going to be wrapped in a bow. And most of our kids are not. They all come with some level of dysfunction, and that's okay.
Yeah, most people have some level of dysfunction.
And we tell them, it's okay not to be okay. What is not okay is when you don't have the right space and freedom to express how you're feeling without the judgment. So we try to make it a safe space for them to come and talk, or find your person and talk to that person. If you're in a crisis, find somebody. So
the children go through certain programs as well while they're there, or
so we do a lot of life skills. We do life skills every day.
And this is volunteer, or is this court ordered, or how do these people?
So our referrals come through the school system. Some people just word of mouth. We've had a lot of people a lot of the young people refer other young people. So we get calls every day like, hey, so-and-so referred me. They said you can help find housing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what else do you want to do? Because you're 15. What else do you want to do with your life?
Okay.
So we do a service plan with them. So that's the very first thing that we do. We do an intake and then we do a service plan. The service plan is to find out what your challenges are, where you struggled, and risk factors. So that helps us to help build a service plan for them. What do you want to do in the next 6 months with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Give me some short-term goals. What things do you have to accomplish? Is it school? Is it a trade? Do you just want to get your driver's license so you can drive? Do you want to get your work permit so you can work? What do you want to do? So we build a long-term plan and then we build a short-term plan so that we can have a holistic plan and we start working towards all of it. Mm-hmm. And we hold them accountable to it. So you said you wanted your work permit. You haven't yet gone to the school to talk to these people about this work permit. What do we need to do?
So like accountability.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So speaking of spaces, okay. So your work requires emotional strength and compassion. And probably in some cases, very deep compassion, which that's got to be hard on, pulling on your heartstrings from time to time, right?
Yes.
How do you protect your own healing while serving others in such heavy spaces?
So I have learned to practice self-care. So I pull back when I need to pull back. So if it gets too emotional or too heavy, or I know that I'm starting to get too emotionally invested, I have to reach out to other people that knows who I am and know that I need to be regenerated, and I talk to them. Or I will hand off a lot of the heavier things to some of the mentors because they know that I carry a lot on my plate. And if I could bring every unhoused child home with me, we would have no room for my real children. So it's those people that step in and they say, listen, don't bring this little girl home. We're going to find another space for her. So I have people around me that help to balance that for me.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good. You do have to have a balance. I can see.
Yeah,
I can see that being difficult though, because it's just a child. It's vulnerable, and they've gone through some things. And I'm sure that I don't know if I probably couldn't do it. So my hats off to you.
Hard.
I don't know if I could, but I definitely be in prayer for the children because a lot of them. I don't know. It's just it seems like people. I don't know. In some cases, people seem like they don't like children. Children are always talked about so badly and not really like. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like you don't hear a whole lot of good things about, being a parent sometimes and some, I'm not going to say all the time because some people, they're good, but you just hear it a lot. It's like the children are just a nuisance, that they're a problem.
Yeah.
From day one, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, I think that I think parents and children alike, parents have a lot of trauma that they haven't processed.
And they pass it on down to
and they pass it right down to the kids, and the kids don't know how to process their grief, their trauma, their trouble.
So do you ever work with the parents and the children?
We work with the parents and the children.
I guess if the parents are willing, right?
So that's part of what our motto is that the kids can't be stable if the family is in crisis. So we don't just provide case management to the kids, we provide it to the families of the children as well. And that is where a lot of the challenges are, is with the families, and they're not stable. There's, I would say, at least 30% of the kids that are in the public schools right now in the city school district are homeless. Right? And most people don't even know it.
Yeah.
But these kids get picked up and dropped off to a shelter every single day.
Yes.
And it is hard.
I can imagine.
It is hard. And so having to be the parent of the child getting off the bus at a shelter, and then the parent can't find work, or the parent has their own unprocessed trauma from what happened to them when they were a teenager or a child. And now they have a child and they don't know how to protect this child because they're still a child. It's hard. And having to connect parents to mental health, that is probably the biggest challenge, because some of these parents grew up in a time frame where you don't go see a therapist.
That's true. That's true. And, there's a lot of controversy. I'm not going to say a lot of controversy, but there is controversy about the benefits or not of therapists too. Mm-hmm. And then, you have to know who you're talking to and what their faith system is and what their belief system is and things like that before you can start just taking advice from people. I work in the medical field, so I tell people all the time, choose a therapist, but choose somebody who, you all have similar ideas about things. You know what I'm saying? Similar beliefs. And things of that nature. I'm not saying you have to be exactly the same, but I wouldn't probably, as a God-fearing woman, right? I'm probably not going to want to have a therapist that's an atheist or something to that effect. I remember when my son was born and I had to take him to a pediatrician, and my children are 10 years apart, so I didn't know anything about a pediatrician, and I was in another state at the time. Mm-hmm. And so somebody had referred, they're really good practice. And it was beautiful. I mean, when you walked up, it was a brand new building. They had a playground on the side. It was just very, very beautiful. The waiting area, the doctors were very pristine and this and that. And so one day I asked him a question about something. This was before I got into the medical field. And I asked him a question about something with my son, and I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was about his circumcision or something that had to do with the baby. Mm-hmm. And and his answer was something like, well, when we were monkeys. So he said we as an inclusive. And I said, who was a monkey?
Sir.
I said, y'all might have been some monkeys. We wasn't no monkeys. So he was like, I know. So he tried to clean it up, but I just told him, that I respected it, that if that was what his belief was, but that we weren't going to no longer need his services. And I just wrapped my baby up and left. But a lot of times you have to, if we wouldn't have had that conversation, I don't know if I would have ever known that. But so, I'm a big proponent on having some conversations because,
absolutely.
And you need to really, really be careful about, who you're letting pour into you and who you're sharing certain things with, especially if you've already been through these trauma cycles and things like that,
Yeah.
And that's what Brik Chik is about, building resilience and inspiring consciousness. And we want people to get unstuck. We want them to recognize that they've gone through some things, yes, and they were hard. Yeah. But that's not, you don't have to live there. And then you can take those things that you have gone through and you can help other people, because just like it happened to you, it's happened in the past, it's going to continue to happen down the line. But we hope that we'll have people that can cushion it and help you go through what you got to go through, because God don't put no more on you than what you can handle.
Sure does.
And when you're going through something that's traumatic, you don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? You don't want to hear that. Sometimes you just can't even accept that. But why? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's a beautiful thing that what y'all have going on over there. And I do hope that I'm going to have to check into it. I don't know if I could work with, I don't know if I can. I'll probably be in.
It's hard.
Because I'll be like, what happened?
Listen,
we'll be cammied up and then somebody bushes. Girl, please.
Listen, me and my husband is, he's a feisty little man. But he's the one that's like, do we need to go over there? No, we do not. We will not. We just gonna pick this little girl up and we gonna bring her here. That's all right. We gonna do that? Yeah, because you just want to hug on and love on them. You just can't imagine certain things. I've interviewed a girl that went through some very tremendous trauma that she shared with me, and I'm just sitting here looking at her like, and I'm like, and so where is he? So she was like, oh, he died. I was like, good. Before I knew it, I was like, good. Because let God deal with him. Right.
Because it was just. I couldn't even imagine.
Death on nobody, but we sure praise the Lord when things happen.
Right. Yeah. So you
make the playing field level. Thank you.
So I was like, okay, good. Before I knew it, we both was caught to play praising God. Thank you, Lord.
It's hard. It's a very difficult, and not even just with the kids. The kids pull my heartstrings, but people in general. Yeah. People have gone through.
They have. The
ringer.
Yeah, they have.
People have gone through the ringer, and they just are not surviving or thriving in the world. I don't want people to just survive. I want them to thrive.
Yeah.
And they're not.
They're looking at drugs, alcohol, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. And it's really too bad. Porn, whatever. But it's got to be a way, I guess, that people like us will figure it out, right?
We're going to figure it out. We're going to make our mark.
That's it. That's why I did this. And even I wrote my book, I Thought We Become, because the way you think about yourself is the way that you're going to present yourself, is the way you're going to speak about yourself, and it's going to be the life that you end up ultimately developing for yourself. And I had to learn that for myself.
Okay.
And so, and that's something that I think is very important, and for people not to dwell on, certain things that happened in their past or certain things about their personality, because in a lot of ways, yes, we do need to work on ourselves. It's not like we were born in this perfect, but God gave us certain skill sets and he gave us certain personalities and characters because for a reason. So we just need to make sure that we understand and we don't let, and especially in this they call it cancel culture. And you can't talk, you can't say certain words, and you can't do this and that. But truth tellers have always been shunned. And so when you're speaking the truth, a lot of times people, they don't want, oh no, we got to shut her down or we got to shut him down, and that is exactly what we need. Is the truth sometimes, I mean, I ain't gonna say sometimes, I'm gonna say all the time. Yeah. But, it's just how you present the information, and not in a way to judge, but in a way to say, hey, this is what the truth is. And this is where we need to try to, help you get to. So, I think that's important. That's the very important thing that we need to do as a society, as communities, in the culture. I know when my mother used to talk about back in the day, they were missionary Baptists. And when they went to church, they would have meetings. And forgive me if I'm saying anything wrong, or if I don't have the right titles, but they would meet monthly or something like that. And people would talk about stuff that was going on in the community that they wanted to be addressed. And so, they would talk about who was sleeping with whose husband. And, I mean, and people would have okay, well, this is what we, this
is what we gonna do.
Yeah. And it was just but I don't think they're doing that anymore.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I mean, and I'm sure there were other things that were going, who was drinking down and hiding, or who's not taking care of their families or whatever was going on. It was brought up in the community of the church, and it was supposed to be in an effort, I guess, I'm assuming, to help where people could come in and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, or this is how we're going to address that. And I think as a community,
we probably should get
back to that.
I do. So I think.
But they probably burn it down.
They would burn it down. They would burn it down. But what I will say is, my thought process is, if we don't talk about these things in the church, where are the people going to get their answers from? Right? They're going to go seek the answers from the world. And we already having trouble in the world. The church should be talking about these things. Maybe not in that manner, and maybe not that direct, who's sleeping with who. Right.
Maybe you gonna leave them alone too.
Right. Maybe not like
and
that.
And making some demands.
But should we talk about people having extramarital affairs? Yes. Should we talk about mental health in church? Yes. Should we talk about drug use in church? Yes. Why? Because all of those people are in church.
Yes, because that's where people are taught to go. Yeah. But I think in a lot of ways, too, the church has to become more progressive, and they have to recognize certain other things that are in the culture, and some of the things that we were taught that were bad, or that were not allowed, and things like that, that we actually is causing our demise.
Yeah, I agree. Our churches have to be, they got to accept all of what is in the world, not accept it as in, we're going to do this, we're going to be like the world, but know that this is happening. We got to be able to talk about this in church. So many things are kept out of church. Yeah. Don't talk about this in church.
Yeah. And they don't open up, and they don't even try to investigate or do anything, to me, in my opinion. And I'm kind of new to organized religion, but, I think that there's a lot of room for growth, and I think that's with anything. But I understand that, and that's where people would always go for their comfort and, as for their community. But I do think that, and I'm thinking that a lot of the young people are now saying, hey, what about this? What about that? You know what I mean? And how about, even natural holistic healing and things like that? You know what I mean? So, because everything was made to look like it was bad, witch doctors, because the doctors used to go to houses and birth the children and take care of you when you were sick, and not, and then you're saying, and they were making the medicines with the root, not roots. I ain't putting roots on nobody. I'm just saying with the herbs, right? And that's how they would heal. Right. You know what I'm saying? And different things. So, and then all of a sudden that became, a negative connotation, or you're a witch, or you're a warlock, or you know what I'm saying. And I'm not saying just from that, but I'm just saying from in a lot of different ways, even in praying for people and casting out demons and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And so now it's just like, oh, we just won't talk about that.
Right. So I think now, even more so now, we are in an era where people play church instead of actually being the church. And that's why we have so much stuff going on.
Right.
That's why we have so much stuff going on, right? That's why we have so many kids committing suicide, but they in church every Sunday, right? That's why we have so many kids that can't handle going off to college, and they want to go off the deep end when they have one bad relationship, but they in church every Sunday.
Yeah,
right.
So something's failing.
Something is wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
And in a lot of cases, this is nothing against. I'm not trying to put churches. This isn't the bash churches. So anybody don't get the wrong idea. We're just talking, having a conversation about some areas that we could grow in. And even I went to see the Donna Summer story. Do you know her story?
No.
So she sang in church, right?
Yes.
That's where she started singing. And so when she said when she would always get the solos because she has such a beautiful voice, right? And she said that her mother would say, "Oh, the pastor wants you to come and sing this solo," and she would dress her up and she would take her to church so she could practice. Now she's got to come to practice, and when she was taking her to practice, he was molesting her. And so whether her mother knew or not,
right?
And as time went on, and she was just a little girl. She was like 10, 11, 12, right?
Wow.
13, 14. But by the time she was 16, she wasn't even going to school. She was running away. She ran away with a guy, and I forget how old she was at the time, but she ran away with this guy. She moved to Europe and she started her music career.
Wow.
And so and so you think about that, and it's like, but I never knew that about her. And I think that you'll hear that story a lot. A lot of things were coming out, and I'm not saying, because I'm quite sure that the devil plays real hard on the pastors, because he knows that the pastors have to, bring the sheep in and care for them. And so, and they're men, and they're men too, they're men to begin with. So they have weaknesses. And so I'm sure that they're probably targeted a lot when it comes to those evil spirits. But, we've got to come to the point where the pastor can say, "Hey, listen, you know what? I got these issues and I need to get myself together." You know what I'm saying? And not continue to push those types of agendas on our children. So it's like the children they damned if they do, they damned if they don't. Right. At home they haven't, and then you go to the church and now you got, and this isn't all, I'm not saying this about all churches.
It's not.
But it happens a lot.
Right.
I mean, look at the Catholic Church. You know what I'm saying? That was a whole, what I'm saying? So I think there's going to have to be a time when we have to figure out how to get people to accept the things that they are and to change those things. And even if they can't change them, to not act on them.
Right. I agree with that. 100%.
And I don't know how we do that. I think we all have to do that to some degree. I mean, I'm not a child molester, but there's certain things that I have my sin, but I had to face it. I had to address it, and I had to make a conscious choice not to do those things.
I think so a lot of people experience church hurt, right? So they went to church, and for whatever the reason, they end up hurt and they stray away from the church. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of times, not all the time, not every church, but a lot of times in the church, we have a hierarchy. We built it, a hierarchy of sin, right? So this sin is greater than this sin. Yeah. Right? That's not true. But nowhere in the Bible did the Lord say that being a homosexual was worse than the liar or the thief. Right? Everybody got their own cross to bear.
Right.
And we have to stop with the hierarchy of sins, because that is what's pushing people away. And if we can just come to the agreement that the church is not for the righteous, the church is for the unrighteous. Right? Those who run in and get saved. Right? If you already saved, then your job is to now go out and plant the seed somewhere else. But you can't do anything. You can plant, you can water, but you don't make it grow. You don't give the increase. God does. Right? So our job is to go out and do what the Lord says to do. And if we could just come to a consensus on that as a church, in whole, go do what the Lord says to do, all the other stuff goes away.
That would be a start. Right. Yeah. And it would just be a trickle-down effect.
It'll be a trickle-down effect, right?
Yeah.
So we would then be able to have those conversations. It wouldn't be a stigma about talking about molestation in the church. There's so many people who have experienced that, but they are afraid to say something in church. Why would you be afraid to say something in the one place that is supposed to be a sacred, holy space? Why would you be afraid to come and talk about abuse of any kind, domestic violence, any kind of abuse, in the space that's supposed to be a sacred and holy space? Unless that's the space that it happened, right? And then if it did happen in this space, why are we not talking about it? Why are we not calling it out?
Well, that's politics too. And then, you don't want to come and ruffle the feathers or make waves, you know what I'm saying, or squeak the wheel, because then you're the problem.
Right. But then nothing gets solved. Yeah. So we all have a part to play in this.
We do.
Right?
Yeah. So we got to get people talking, you know what I'm saying, and get people moving.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes you don't need to be in certain places. And I think, like, you know, when you're raised and this is where your parents bring you and this is what you taught and this is what you taught is right. And this is, because even when Jesus walked the earth, his disciples wasn't all these holy, pompous.
Nope.
he
got
had
all kind of
liars, killers. You know what I'm saying? Peter was something else with the sword, wasn't he?
Listen,
he ain't played, did he?
And he cussed a lot.
Okay. And who Paul was a murderer. So you know what I'm saying. And then we have these same people in our communities. Like when you mentioned the Kia boys, and I'm not saying that the Kia boys are murderers, but I'm saying they're known for stealing cars, right? So they're thieves. So it's the same type of, but how come those people are so shunned, right, in these communities if we following Jesus' teachings?
Right. Exactly.
So I'm glad that you're doing this, because I think that, you know, and I'm not saying that your clients are necessarily, you know, the Pharisees or anything like that. But, you know, that's usually because when there's a lack and you don't have certain things, you know what I'm saying? You do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
It is what it is. Okay. So faith clearly plays a role, you know, in your leadership. How has your spiritual journey helped you stay grounded when progress feels slow or resistance shows up?
So I definitely have struggled in the past when progress was slow or when I felt like it just wasn't moving at all. And those are the times where I have to study more and I have to really get into alignment with Jesus, because I'm like, okay, God, you told me to do this. So
what we doing here?
What we doing? Like, why we stuck?
Right.
Now, you said if you started this work, you was going to be sure to complete it. Now, we ain't complete at all.
What are we doing?
What's going on here?
But you notice what I noticed in those times? In those times, it's times that we need to draw closer to God. That's when we need to fast and we need to pray. And we need to figure out, sometimes God is working on our heart. Yeah. And so we think it's something that's external, right, that we need to look for to change and to make these changes, but it's something that's internal that we need to be, so that we can be open to understanding where we need to move. And so when we're not there, sometimes God does give us that block. And I think that, and I had to learn that recently, because I'm like, well, what's going on? And he was like, well, you need to pay attention to what I'm trying to tell you.
Did you do what I said?
Yeah, back up off that table for a minute.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I think that, and that just struck something with me. And I was like, you know what? It's me. It's something that, and then when I start paying attention and I start practicing what I preach, right, I noticed that God started talking to me and then things start moving. And he said, I told you, that's all you had to do was let go of it.
Yeah.
You know,
take your hands off.
Just take your hands off of it and stop worrying. You can't worry and pray and be in faith. Okay. Right. So fast and pray, do some meditation. And listen to me when I'm telling you, pay attention to your heart. We have to change our hearts in order for us to move the time. And if people don't do that, they're going to stay stuck. Yeah.
It just delays what the Lord said anyways.
Yeah. And he said, well, I kept telling you. Yeah. Like, I wasn't paying attention because I was too worried.
Absolutely. So yes, I do a lot of fasting when I get stuck. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, and I talk to him just like he's like,
he is
like a friend. Yes. So I'll be like, look, Jesus,
what a friend we have in Jesus.
What you saying, Lord? Because this ain't the math ain't mathing right now. Like, what's going on here? Like, I don't understand. Right. Tell me something, because this is not it.
This is not it.
I have to talk to him like that. Yeah. And sometimes I end up having to laugh at myself, because the Lord be like, but I didn't tell you to do this either. So you did this and you delayed it yourself. That's why you stuck. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Sometimes you get still and you figure it out. So, you know, when you think about long-term community change, what does lasting impact really look like to you?
It looks like helping people move out of poverty and out of community violence. I want people to be able to obtain employment, but not just employment. I want them to be able to obtain their career goals and be able to help somebody else. I think a lot of times people that have grown up in Rochester, that's been here all their life, they don't see beyond the community that they're in. They can't see beyond the violence. They can't see beyond school. They can't even see till graduation, some of the kids. So they don't think it's possible. They're like, nah, we gonna die in these streets. Like, this the street life. We get it out the mud. This is what it is. Yep, this is what it is. We getting it out the mud, and we gonna do this till we die. No, you don't have to die doing this, though. Right. Like, my vision is that from every corner of the city that we would have an impact enough on these kids that something will inspire them to move differently. And to say, I'm not going to die here. Right. I'm not going to die doing this. I'm going to make it. I'm going to live, and I'm going to live more abundantly. And then start to help somebody else live more abundantly. That's your vision. And so, and that's going to take them realizing that about themselves, because the same thing that we're seeing in Rochester is all over the world, in every community. And I think that, you know, because you could say Rochester, you could say Buffalo, you could say, you know, Atlanta, Georgia. Anywhere. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? California, Los Angeles, right? The major cities. We see it all the time. And so people just get linked into those, and it's just different pockets, you know, and they're exposed to different things, but the violence and the drugs, and that seems to, you know, to always be one of the main factors. But, you know, like I said, I think in a lot of ways, that's the way people make money. Remember bootlegging? Right? So, so liquor is always going to be, you know what I mean? And then, and any drug, you know what I'm saying, always seemed to be the way that people could make money. And to me, that's just, it was fed into our communities. And then not only to the people that were using, but to the people that were also providing. And then the thing about that is just like, you know, when you have people who are handling these drugs, and even though they don't use the drugs, it goes into their pores, so they become addicted too. Because how many times do you see people who are selling drugs or who are drug, you know, pushers, dope pushers, that end up being addicts themselves? So, you know, it has to be hit on both sides. You know what I'm saying? Because all you do is just end up perpetuating and recreating the same thing over and over again. If we could just help people, if we could help our people understand that we live in a society that has always tried and done a very good job of helping us to divide ourselves. Like, they have done everything that they possibly could to keep our people down, to keep us in lack, to keep us living in poverty. And the chains are gone, but they're still here, not physically, but they're still wrapped around our minds. Like, we're perpetuating everything that slavery did to us, and we ain't let it go yet. Yeah. But I don't blame everything on slavery, and I'm not saying that you don't need that. That's what you were doing, but listen, there's going to be some certain circumstances where you can go and you can see a young man or a young woman, and you can have somebody that'll put them on, right? They'll front them. Yep. But if they'll say, yeah, okay, well, here, I'm gonna give you this. You bring me you know the recipe. Yeah. So, but when they say, hey, I got this business idea, they won't invest. And then they go to the bank. They don't even know how to go to the bank. And then when they do go to the bank, what's the bank going to say? Oh, you know, you don't have experience. Right. You don't have experience, or this is never going to take off the ground or whatever. And really, it's the thing. The thing is, you just don't have the connection, because they have the money. It's available. And it's supposed to be allotted to people that are building and creating businesses. And I think, you know, it's great for people who are going to be those people that go into these places and work jobs. We need people that are going to work. But we also need to stop just teaching our children to work. We need to teach them to be entrepreneurs and to open their own businesses, take their ideas, and because we've created a lot of things in this world, majority of things in this world. And so you're right. And it still is in our DNA. It's still in our bloodline. And we have to wake that back up in our kids and say, when you have these ideas, let's see what we can do with it. And I think that's one thing I do love about social media and the internet is because you can see where people can say, hey, you know what, this is my brand, or this is what then, you know, they get that, they get the visibility that they need in order to find people who will, you know, hopefully invest in them, or they know that they just got to keep putting it down if they have to go to work, or how to get the bag, and how to save the money, and how to make things happen, and how to get, you know, their LLCs and branding and trademarks and copyrights and things like that. So that to me is a really, really big thing. And that's what I would like to see more of, teaching young people how to take their ideas and take their thoughts and make them into something that's right, that's going to be able to sustain them through life, because that's what it's all about. I 100% agree with that. I think that some of our young people, some of our older people have learned to just live on a pork and bean
Yeah.
salary, right? A pork and beans mindset.
Yeah.
Like they said pork and beans was the poor man's food, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like...
And now they're making cookbooks about poor man's food.
Right. But it's like they envision having the Bentley in the driveway to a house that you rent, right? Or you have this wonderful car because it looks great and you spend all this money to have this car, but you behind on your rent. You behind on your mortgage, if you have a mortgage. Or they want the jewelry, but don't want to put it in a business because that doesn't make fast money. Like there has to be a mindset shift.
Yes. That's true. And I don't know where and I think a lot of the jewelry and the flash that comes from our DNA too, because we come from empires.
We do.
We come from kingdoms, and we are kings and queens and princesses and princes in those empires. And so that's why those kind of things attract them, because we come from that. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, that's not what is important. They have made that to be what was important.
Right.
But it was love. And then when you had these empires, they were taking care of the people that were less fortunate.
Right.
They were helping them to eat. You know what I'm saying? They were buying and they were trading with the people that were in the community, and they were allowing them to feed their families. That's right. And so, but now it's like, they give all these handouts. And then people get comfortable, with the project. The project should have been over there. Has anybody noticed that the project does not work? Get out the project, y'all. Right. Yeah, it's time to, figure out how to own land and things like that. And even these days now, it's just, everything is so crazy. If you listen to 10 different people talk about one topic, you'll hear 10 different points of views. Yep. And there's some things you can take from it that make sense, and some things you got to throw out the window, right? Yep. But what do you do with all that information? Where do you go with it? How do you reach the children, and how do you reach these kids, to teach them this stuff when there's so much that's out here? There's got to be a foundation.
There has to be a foundation. And I think what we do a really good job of is we try to make sure that we make it relevant to the kids. So we're not, even though we're talking about high level things like this is what you can be in the future, we do a really good job of relating to where they are right now. Okay. Like this is where you are right now. And yes, it's hard right now. But if you can be out here selling drugs, that means that you're good at math.
That's right. Marketing,
sales. You know how to get people to buy what you're selling. So let's take that mentality and put it towards the right thing. What else do you want to do? Like perfect world. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Because don't nobody ever say,
like, what can you learn?
What can you learn? Like, what can you do with all of these good marketing skills that you have right now? Because they don't realize that
they're skill sets,
transferable skills, right?
Because they're in survival.
Right. So you feel like you just surviving and that you don't have any of the skills. But no, the skills that you're using right now to survive are transferable to something that's going to help you thrive. You just have to figure out how to use it the right way. So what do you need to do? What do you want to do? What does that look like? If this was a perfect world and you could have any job you wanted to have or do anything that you wanted to do that would make money for you, what would it be? Now let's figure out how to get there.
Yeah. And the first thing I think the key to that is to learn is self-love. You got to love yourself. You got to love who you are, who you're looking at in that mirror. And if you don't, you need to have a plan on how to make it.
How to get there.
How to get there. And then once you do that, and once we realize that, what is the fruits of what is it called? Like the Beatitudes, right? The fruit, love and peace and joy and wisdom and understand. Nobody talks about it's always about money and crypto and stocks and this and that. And I understand that you need certain things in order to live. But if you start with those basic things and you seek first the kingdom, and then the kingdom does not say anything about the money and the stocks and the this and that, then everything else will be added to you. And so we're kind of going at it backwards. We're running after something that we don't even, all we have to do is, like I said, be still and walk in that light that he said for us to do. So what is the legacy that you hope Project Urge leaves behind? That's Urge, right? Urge. That Project Urge leaves behind. So when you said you took the baton from, I'm sorry, what was his name?
His name is Gary.
Gary. Okay. So you took the baton from Gary, and you had this, I'm sure you had all these wonderful things, and you had this big picture, right? So when you are in Gary's shoes one day, who do you envision taking that baton from you, and where do you think that they're going to have to take it from there?
Well, I would hope that my oldest son would take it, because he's always wanted to deal with kids who are going through something. That's always been his goal. That's what he wanted to go to school for. He ain't finished because he ain't consistent, but he gonna get there because the Lord gonna help him.
Okay.
But
hallelujah.
He gonna get there.
Right, let's put a prayer on that.
But I envision passing the baton to him because he is this generation.
Mm-hmm.
My son is about to be 25 next month. He is this generation.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows the struggles of this generation. He knows his own struggles.
Mm-hmm.
He knows the struggles that I have had. He knows the sacrifices that I make each and every day to make sure that him, his brother, and any other kids that come into our life are safe. And I envision that he is going to take this to a way bigger level than what I could ever do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want this to be the go-to organization that they can say, this organization helped turn my life around.
Mm-hmm.
This organization helped my mom to become sober. This organization helped my mom see her own worth so that she can see the worth in me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, our family was put back together because Project Urge stepped in, and they had all these resources that helped us.
Mm-hmm.
And I want my son to be able to take that and move it so much further beyond resources. I want him to be able to have the residential facility. I want him to be able to have a space where families, if they don't have a place to live, that they can come and have a place to get on their feet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to cost them an arm and a leg. Like, it costs
the rent around here,
like $75 a day to stay in a shelter that people have to pay out of their pockets.
Yeah,
if they have any kind of income,
mm-hmm.
right? So I have someone. She's a mom. She's got 5 kids. She paid $1,000 a month to stay in a shelter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she's already homeless,
mm-hmm.
and she's paying $1,000 a month to stay in a shelter,
yeah.
and she can't even take all her kids with her.
Yeah. So
right.
I'm hoping that Project Urge gets to the point where they get homelessness down to a minimum number, and they can start taking that 501c3 you said,
yes,
and start working towards some entrepreneurship and teaching people how to invest and take care of themselves. Like that
is my goal.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So, thank you for coming in today. I appreciate you being here. I think that today is a reminder. Okay. It's a reminder that healing is holy and that dignity is divine and that every soul deserves to be seen. Right. So Candace showed us the real change doesn't start in systems. Right. It starts in our hearts. It starts in people who are willing to stand up and bridge the divide. Right. And who are willing to love out loud, who are willing to walk with someone when the road gets heavy. And we need to learn how to become those people. And you can't be it to everybody, but to who you can. And when you see an opportunity to take it, So here's your brick for today. Ask yourself, who can I see more clearly? Who can I serve more sincerely? And who can I love more intentionally? Because every act of compassion is another brick in the foundation of a better world. So if it ain't bricking, then we need to build it. Okay, we need to build with faith. We need to build with purpose, and we need to build with love. So this is your girl, Brik Chik, and we're building resilience and inspiring consciousness and reminding you to stay grounded, stay grateful, and keep building. Till next time. You know already what the hottest podcast is in the world, the Brik Talks podcast. And so we're on Anything Entertainment Network. Make sure you download that and share it with all your friends. And come out and check out some of the conversations that we're having. We got some really riveting conversations. We're talking about community. We're talking about culture. We're talking about loving and helping one another to just build a great community and to build great surroundings in our community. Make sure you look for us on YouTube. We're on social media. Keep building, y'all. Keep it brick.